Have you ever stood in a crowd of graduates all dressed in flowing gowns and noticed how every single cap looks exactly the same, flat, square, and oddly rigid? It's such a familiar sight that most of us rarely question it. Why not round caps? Why not something more comfortable or stylish? Graduation is supposed to celebrate individuality, yet for this one moment, everyone wears the same design. That simple square board has remained unchanged for generations, quietly sitting at the center of one of life's biggest milestones. Today we will uncover why that shape, so simple yet so specific, became such a powerful and lasting symbol right here on History of Simple Things. At first glance, the graduation cap, commonly known as a mortarboard, doesn't look particularly special. It's just a flat square attached to a snug cap with a tassel hanging from the middle. But behind that minimal design is a mix of practicality, symbolism, and tradition that has allowed it to endure for centuries. To understand where it comes from, we only need a brief look back. Early universities in medieval Europe were closely tied to religious institutions, and scholars often dressed similarly to clergy. They wore long robes for warmth in cold stone buildings, along with simple caps that covered the head. One early version was the pileus, a soft, rounded skull cap used by scholars and priests. Over time, as academic institutions became more structured, these caps evolved into more defined shapes, like the biretta, a hat with subtle ridges or corners that hinted at the more angular design to come. But the fully flat square cap we recognize today didn't appear overnight. It gradually developed as universities formalized their traditions. By the time education expanded in the 18th and 19th centuries, especially in places like the United Kingdom and the United States, schools began standardizing academic dress. The mortarboard emerged as the dominant style, not just because of tradition, but because it worked. And that's really the key to understanding its shape. It's not just symbolic, it's practical. The square top provides a stable, balanced surface. Unlike a rounded hat, which can shift or tilt, the flat board distributes weight evenly across the head. During long ceremonies where graduates are constantly standing, sitting, and walking, that stability actually matters more than you might think. Then there's the tassel. It may seem like a small detail, but it plays a central role in the ceremony. Graduates move the tassel from one side to the other to mark the moment they officially complete their studies. The flat, centered design of the cap allows the tassel to hang clearly and visibly, making that symbolic gesture easy to see across an entire crowd. The square shape also makes the cap easier to produce. When universities need thousands of identical caps, a simple geometric design is far more efficient to manufacture. Flatboards can be cut uniformly, assembled quickly, and stacked without taking up much space. That consistency helps create the uniform look we associate with graduation, a sea of identical caps representing a shared achievement. But practicality alone doesn't explain why the cap stayed square. Over time, the shape itself began to carry meaning. One of the most common interpretations comes from the cap's resemblance to a mason's mortarboard, the flat tool used to hold mortar while laying bricks. In that sense, the cap becomes a metaphor for education. Knowledge isn't gained all at once. It's built gradually, layer by layer, just like a wall. Every class, every assignment, every challenge adds another piece to that structure. There's also a deeper symbolic layer tied to the square itself. In many disciplines, especially mathematics and philosophy, the square represents order, balance, and stability. It's one of the simplest and most complete shapes: 4 equal sides, 4 corners, perfectly aligned. That sense of structure mirrors what education aims to provide: a foundation that is organized, reliable, and strong. And psychologically, that matters. Humans tend to associate symmetry and balance with completion. A square feels finished. So wearing a square cap at graduation subtly reinforces the idea that something has been completed, that a long journey has reached its endpoint. Interestingly, the cap's design also supports one of the most iconic graduation traditions: tossing it into the air. The flat surface helps it catch air more evenly compared to a rounded hat, making the throw more satisfying and the motion more dramatic. It's a small detail, but it shows how well the design adapts, even to traditions that came long after it was created. Despite all this, the mortarboard isn't exactly known for comfort. The rigid top can feel awkward, and if it's not fitted properly, it can slide around or sit unevenly. But during graduation, comfort isn't the priority, symbolism is. The cap is worn for a short period, but it represents years of effort, persistence, and growth. Another reason the square cap has endured is its role in creating unity. Graduation ceremonies aren't just about individual success, they're about collective achievement. When everyone wears the same cap and gown, it removes visible differences and places the focus on the shared experience. For that brief moment, everyone is equal, standing at the same milestone. So the next time you see a graduation ceremony, take a closer look at those caps. Beneath their simplicity is a design shaped by both function and meaning, a balance of practicality and symbolism that has lasted for centuries. Because in the end, the square graduation cap isn't just about how it looks. It's about what it represents: a foundation built, a journey completed, and a future ready to be constructed one layer at a time. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.